This is Gagan Girotra, IIT Roorkee class of 2000, and I am Calcutta class of 2005.
Now, arithmetic progression, it looks like this, right? So you start with any number, let's say a, then you add a number d to it to get your second term, and you add another d to a plus d to get the third term, and so on, right? And so on, and it continues. So you notice that a is the first term of this AP, which I'm going to refer to as T1. A plus d is T2, a plus 2d is T3, and so on, right? So by this logic, you notice that the first term has no d's, it has 0 d's. The second term has only 1 d. The third term has only 2 d's, and so on. So by this logic, the nth term is going to have n minus 1 d's added to a, right? So the nth term of an arithmetic progression is given by a plus n minus 1 d, right? So let's say the seventh term of an arithmetic progression is going to be a plus 6d. Okay, so this is how you arrive at the nth term of an arithmetic progression. Now it's interesting to see, right, that if let's say I add the first and the third term, right, and I divide this by 2, I get a, which is the first term, then the third term is a plus 2d, right, and when I divide this by 2, I get 2a plus 2d divided by 2, which is equal to a plus d, which is actually equal to t2, right? So you notice that t2 is the arithmetic mean of t1 and t3. T2 is AM of T1 and T3, right? Similarly, if let's say I were to take, let's say T5 and T1, and let's say if I were to find their arithmetic mean, T5 is going to be A plus 4D, T1 is going to be simply A, so I'm going to have to divide 2A plus 4D by 2, so I get A plus 2D, which is T3, right? So I can say that T3 is the arithmetic mean of T1 and T5. Now you notice that T2 was bang in the middle of T1 and T3. Similarly, T3 is bang in the middle of T1 and T5, right? So if I were to write these T1, T2, T3, T4, T5, now I notice that the middle term T3 is exactly equal in distance from T1 and T5, right? So what I can extend this logic to say that if there is if there is a term which is equidistant on two different sides from the other two terms, then this term is going to be the arithmetic mean of these two terms, right? So generally speaking, if let's say I have a term, let's say tx, then tx is going to be equal to the arithmetic mean of, let's say, x minus rth term and x plus rth term, right, divided by 2. So to give you an example, the 24th term is going to be equal to the arithmetic mean of 23rd and 25th term. It is also going to be equal to the arithmetic mean of 22nd and 26th term. It is also going to be equal to the arithmetic mean of 21st and 27th term, right? Because T24, the 24th term, is equidistant from the 23rd and 25th. It is equidistant from the 22nd and 26th, and it is equidistant from the 21st and the 27th term. Let's look at a GP now. Geometric progression is a sequence where each number that follows the previous number, the ratio is consistent across, right? So let's take an example. Let's take 1, 3, 9, 27, 81, and so on, right? So you notice that this series The first number 1 is when multiplied by 3 we get the next number. Now this number 3 when multiplied by 3 again we get the next number 9. 9 multiplied by 3 27 and so on. So the general term of a geometric progression we can write as, if the first term is a, right, then the next term is a into r, where r is the common ratio that defines how this series progresses. So the next term is ar multiplied by r, therefore ar square, ar cube, and so on, right? So you notice that the first term is a, the second term is a times r, the third term is a times r square, and so on, which means that the nth term will have a and it will have n minus 1 r's multiplied with a, right? So if let's say we were to find in this series, if let's say we were to find the sixth term, it would be a into r to the power 6 minus 1. Now a is 1, r is 3, so 3 to the power 5, right? So we get 3 to the power 5 is 243, right? So this is what T6 of this series will look like, right? Now it is interesting to note that every consecutive pair of terms that you pick, right, for example T2 and T1, right, their ratio will be equal to any two consecutive terms you pick. For example, T47 upon T46. Why? Because this has one extra r over and above T1, right? So this also has one extra r over and above term 46. We can extend this logic to say that equidistant terms will be also in the same ratio. For example, if I take T3 upon T1, this is going to be same as the 47th term divided by 45th term, right? So you notice that there is a difference of 2 between these terms. So T1 multiplied by r square is T cube, right? Likewise, T5 multiplied by r square is T47. So the ratio of equidistant terms is always going to be the same, right? Now this lends us to the question, what happens if we take three consecutive terms? What is the relationship between three consecutive terms? Now you notice that T1 is a, right, and T3 is a into r square, right? Now when I multiply both of these, we get a square r square, right, which is nothing but the square of T2, right? Now what does this logic extend to? The whole idea of this logic is that you take any three consecutive terms, let's say T45, T46 and T47, T47, we are going to have the product of T45 and T47, right? T45 multiplied by T47 is going to be equal to the square of T46, right? So this is not just true for three consecutive terms, it is also true for equidistant terms, right? So that means T, let's say 20 and T23 and T26. Now I have taken equidistant terms, so there is gap of 3 terms between these two, right? So there's T21 and 22, 2 terms in between of these, gap of 3. Likewise, there are 2 terms between 23rd and 26th term, right? So they are equidistant terms. Even here, T20 multiplied by T26 is going to be equal to the square of the 23rd term, right? So this logic can be extended to all, if I must generalize, then I can say that TR square equals the product of two terms, right? They can be generalized as R minus xth term and R plus xth term, right? So this is how we can find out we can find out the missing terms if the question has been so asked. Now moving on. sum of a GP. Now the question about sum of a GP is split into two parts when R, which is the common ratio, is greater than 1, right, and when R is less than 1. Now in case R is greater than 1, in this case the sum of n terms of a geometric progression is given by A, the first term, into R to the power n minus 1 divided by R minus 1, right? So this is the sum of n terms of a geometric progression whose first term is A and whose common ratio is R. Now sometimes we may also have access to the last term in the GP, right? So we can actually extend this to Sn equals now A into, when you open this bracket, you get A into R to the power n minus A, right? So we write minus A in the numerator, we write R minus 1 in the denominator, but A into R to the power n actually gives us L into R, right? Because A into R to the power n minus 1 is the nth term, which is the last term, right? This is the nth term multiplied by the common ratio minus the first term divided by R minus 1, right? So this is also how we can write the sum of a geometric progression when R is greater than 1. Now when R is less than 1, the sum of n terms is simply A multiplied by 1 minus R to the power n divided by R minus 1, right? So this is how we can find, this should be 1 minus R, right? So this is how we can find the sum of a series where the common ratio is less than 1, right? Now sometimes this R, right, its magnitude is less than 1. Now if its magnitude is less than 1, right, for example, let's take this series. Let's say we start with 4. So this is an example I'm taking. So A is 4. Let's say the common ratio is half, right? So 4, the next term is going to be half of 4, which is 2. The next term is going to be half of 2, which is 1, half, 1/4, 1/8, and so on, right? So you notice that the terms, they keep on reducing. Now if the situation is like this, that the terms, they continue to reduce, ultimately the infiniteth term will almost be 0, right? So can we find out the sum of such a series for infinite terms? Yes, we can. So in this case, the sum obviously for n terms is this, right? But sum of infinite terms of this series will be just A upon 1 minus R. Why is it going to be A upon 1 minus R? It is going to be A upon 1 minus R because R to the power infinity, where R is less than 1, is going to become 0, right? So in half to the power infinity will be equal to 1 upon 2 to the power infinity, which is equal to 0, right? So therefore 1 minus 0, this bracket becomes 1, so we don't need to write this at all, right? So in this series, the sum of infinite terms is going to be A upon 1 minus R, right? So this is going to be 4 upon half, which is 8, right? So this is how we can find out the sum of a geometric progression for different situations. R greater than 1, these are the two formulae for sum of n terms. R less than 1, or less than 1 in magnitude, less than 1 in less than 0, for all of those situations, the sum of n terms is going to be this, right? If magnitude of R is less than 1, then we can actually find out the sum of infinite terms, which is given by A upon 1 minus R.
Thanks for watching the video. You can give your feedback in the comments section below. Please click the like button if you thought the video was helpful. For lesson updates, you may subscribe to my YouTube channel People Plus, or you may read my blogs at peopleprep.com, or you can directly connect to us through our Facebook page @PeoplePlus, or you can email to me at gagan@peopleplus.com. Thank you.